27 years ago, the animated adaptation of Gen 13 emerged as a curious footnote in comic book movie history, arriving before X-Men became a blockbuster franchise. And many now argue it deserved far more recognition. Produced by Wildstorm Productions, later part of DC Comics, and directed by Kevin Altieri, Gen 13 premiered publicly at the Wizard World Chicago Convention in July 1998. Its release was far from standard. Although created with a US-backed studio and a well-known voice cast, it never saw a proper US theatrical or home video launch. The story follows a group of teens, Caitlin Fairchild, Grunge, and Freefall, recruited into a mysterious government facility under the guise of a school, only to discover that the Gen Active program is really about turning them into weapons. In comparison, X-Men debuted in 2000 and thereafter set the standard for modern comic book movies. Gen 13, by contrast, arrived earlier with a similar young people with powers, discovered and trained under duress arc, making it something of a proto-X-Men adaptation. Critics and fans now reflect that Gen 13 beat the X-Men to screen, yet its execution, distribution, and marketing doomed it to obscurity. According to retrospective commentary, the film still deserved better, particularly in light of its adult-leaning themes and relative ambition for the time. One key reason the film stalled: during productions, the Wildstorm imprint was sold to DC Comics under Time Warner, while the distributor was the Walt Disney Company via Buena Vista. Because Disney found itself distributing a property now owned by a rival studio, the film was shelved in the US market and only released in limited fashion overseas. Had Gen 13 been given proper release and support, many observers believe it could have launched a series, animated or live action, anchoring Wildstorm's characters in media similarly to how X-Men anchored Marvel's property. The article from comicbook.com argues that the film deserved to launch a series. From a thematic standpoint, Gen 13 explored ideas of identity, institutional control, teen angst, and the abuse of power, hallmarks that later comic book franchises mined extensively. Its aesthetic voice talent, including Alicia Witt, Mark Hamill, Flea, and direction gave it creative promise. Yet the market context of the late 1990s did not favor such an experiment. Studios were still tentative about comic book adaptations, and the superhero wave that would surge in the 2000s had yet to crest. Gen 13's limited reach meant it lacked the momentum to carry into multiple installments. Today, the film is remembered more as a what-might-have-been piece, a film that had the structure, the hook, and the timing to perhaps lead a franchise, but fell short because of behind-the-scenes industry deals and distribution choices. For fans of comic book cinema history, Gen 13 remains an underrated milestone. Early, ambitious, ahead of its time. In sum, 27 years after its production, Gen 13 stands as a formative, undercredited link in the evolution of the superhero film genre, a project that came out just before the major boom, offering a glimpse of what could have been if it had been given its due platform.